Well,
but I also don't like being told that I can't do something.
That's the biggest motivation right there.
So it's like motivation, kind of half jerky. Like, he could have probably packaged it up better, but I really didn't know.
Yeah.
So what I did is I went and got a job at an agency because I had never worked in an agency.
Yeah.
So just because I had success and sales roles with social didn't mean I knew how to run an agency. So I went and worked in an agency. At the time, I bought the URL, Lillian James Creative. I kept nurturing my personal LinkedIn, knowing I would know when the right time was. And eventually Nike came to me and they said, we want you to work on this. We heard you want to start a business. How about you do this? Long story short, it never turned into anything. It was like 6 months of red tape, right? Because they didn't end up even taking it digital. That's how big companies work. But it was the platform to make that jump.
I'm Andre, and this is the Speak Your Life podcast, where we talk about everything as it relates to education, careers, values, mentors, and anything to do with purpose. We do this one impactful conversation at a time, whether a solo dolo with yours truly or our amazing guests to share stories, industry insights, encouraging words, and calls to action that can help you get closer to your why. Become a part of the Speak Your Life community by subscribing today to the podcast and following us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless.
There we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Speak Your Life podcast. My name is Andre Fluell, and I'm your host. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast to get your content and follow us on Instagram at Speak Your LYFE, because life without your why is meaningless. All right, today we have a very special guest in the building, and she is from, well, she actually graduated from, she was with Kansas University.
I went there. Wow.
I remember. She went to Kansas University in 2001, and she is now the CEO and founder of Lillian James Creative, a business-to-business content and social media company for almost 4 years now. She is the host of the Cocktail Hour podcast, a show that highlights women who are breaking the status quo and are positively impacting society in various ways and industries. She's a wife and a dedicated mother. Please welcome Aaron Fulk.
Hi,
Welcome
thank
to the
you.
show.
Yeah, I went there for a while. I didn't graduate, but that's
Hey,
okay.
that's
I
all
still
good.
did okay. I taught a college course yesterday.
You own a business, so that's all that matters.
And I speak and teach at colleges all the time. It's really
Exactly.
funny, so.
You went to school for a little bit, and now you're speaking at colleges and all over the place and doing your thing, and you're just awesome. So, please tell the audience the era you were born.
Okay.
We always talk about when you're born and then journey to how you get to know why you're born. Let's hear that story.
So I was born back in the 70s. Have you heard of those?
Yeah. The 70s show? Yeah, that I heard of that. Yeah.
Okay. No, I was born October 79. So
Yeah.
Not that long ago.
Yeah.
My kids make fun of it.
Hey, it's all good.
So I was born in Colorado.
Yep.
And at the time, my parents were entrepreneurs, but I didn't know that. We just owned a clothing store.
Yeah.
And Colorado economy crashed much faster than the rest of the economy.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up in Kansas City living in my grandmother's basement.
Yeah.
Right? And then I think that just led to quite a few moves. I went to something like, gosh, I don't even know, 8 to 12 schools growing up. It was a lot. And so I remember back, it's so funny. I remember actually going and buying, at one of my schools, I would go buy Jelly Rancher sticks. They used to have sticks.
Oh, wow.
And I would go buy them and I would sell them at school.
She was a hustler, yo.
So I've been doing some sort of entrepreneurial stuff since I would write books and try to sell them to kids' parents at school.
Comic books or what kind of books?
Yeah, not comic books. That would have been way cooler.
Yeah.
Just storybooks for younger kids.
Yeah.
And I would submit them. I remember mailing them and submitting them to book places. I was always just trying to figure out how to sell stuff.
Yeah.
So I went to college and everybody said, well, first of all, in high school I was told, don't get a job, you don't want to get a job. So I still went and got a job.
Yeah.
So I've been working since the day I think I was 15 when you could apply. And then I got to college. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I thought I wanted to be in media journalism. I really thought that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
I hated it. So then I was stuck in college. I was working at a bar. I was managing a bar when I was 18.
Wow.
And I was like, there's a lot more money to be made here. I just never understood, and I still can't understand why every quarter we would have to pay all this money. Even books back then, I think they were even cheaper than they are now, which is crazy to me. But I was in college was cheaper back then. This was like 98 to 2001. I
Yeah,
just thought it was so crazy. I was like, how am I ever going to pay off all these loans I'm signing on for?
Oh, my
and nobody was
goodness.
batting their eye at me taking out these loans, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like, they've passed a lot of laws now that they can't do this, but they used to line where all the students hung out with just T-shirts and sweatshirts, and you would sign up for a credit card and they
Oh
would give
yeah,
that to
my
you.
dad told me about that when he went to Ohio State back in the 80s.
Right.
They stopped
it used to,
doing
like,
that.
this was 2001. They still did it.
Wow.
And so I started signing up for credit cards, and luckily I figured it out pretty quick. Like, I was like, I just got my first credit card last year since then.
Wow.
But I was like, I'm bringing up money. I don't have any way to work it off. Like, college is costing me a lot of money. I don't know what I want to do. So I eventually just quit, moved to Texas, kept the bartending gig up for a while. Till I had a kid. That's when I came back. Had to get a quote-unquote real job, right? And so
Real
always
job. Yeah.
always had a couple jobs, but that is really when I started. I always got sales jobs because I didn't have a degree, and I learned very early on how to use social media to make myself the best salesperson on the team. And that's essentially what I did. Is I just kept selling and using social media, and eventually ended up opening up a social media company.
Wow.
Yeah. So.
That's awesome.
So my why is social media is that's so nuts.
What's the deeper why?
Right. I think that at the end of the day, what I knew was communication, right?
Yeah,
so whether that was going to be in journalism, but I just didn't like the whole idea of like exactly what you had to do here, going and setting up. And at the time, the cameras didn't come that size. They came,
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
and you had to do all your own editing. And I think had journalism been what it is now, it would have been different. But now I'd be mad. I'd be very, very angry with how journalists are being treated. So, and the other thing about journalism is you have to be very unopinionated. It's factual.
You have to be in a box. Like,
and that's not easy
basically.
for me.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, this is what I think, right?
Yeah.
And at the time, they were not showing me a path to that.
Yeah.
So essentially, it's come full circle where I now have 2 different shows that I do. They're online instead of on TV.
Yeah.
But, viewership, just as much as if I had a cable show, probably.
Yeah.
And they're very interactive. They're both live shows, and so I've been doing them for quite a while. And able to be very opinionated because they're my shows, so what I say goes, right?
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, whether it be social media, like, I'm just good at communication.
Yeah.
That is probably my gift, is communication. And
Awesome.
understanding, like, understanding that the conversation I'm going to have with you, because you're a young black man and we are living in, like, the craziest time, and it is scary as hell to be
Say that again.
is a whole different conversation that I need to have about what's going on than an old white man.
Yeah.
I need to still have my opinion on what's right and what's wrong.
Yeah.
But those conversations have to be approached differently, right?
Of course.
And I think that that's a big learning curve for a lot of people, because that's what you take and you put on social media. It's how you approach those conversations, right?
Yeah.
Whether it be something this heavy or it be something like, you should eat at our restaurant, right?
Yeah.
Those are 2 total different conversations. It's, hey, you and your friend should come to happy hour if we're talking to a younger crowd, or bring family out for kids meal night, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's just a matter of communication. So at the end of the day, I figured out how to translate that to online quicker than a lot of people did.
That's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
We're standing in the building that you had your successful business in. It's still growing and getting bigger. So that's awesome. And so tell us, how did Lillian James get started? Like, what was the background behind that?
Well, so I had always been in sales and used social media, kind of like I said, and I wanted to start a social media agency, and I had a terrible boyfriend at the time, and he said, "You're not smart enough to start an agency.
That was a
you know
mistake.
nothing about it."
Yeah.
Well, he was a terrible boyfriend, but he was right. I knew nothing about it, right?
Well.
But I also don't like being told that I can't do something.
That's the biggest motivation right there.
So it's like motivation, kind of half jerky. Like, he could have probably packaged it up better, but I really didn't know.
Yeah.
So what I did is I went and got a job at an agency, because I had never worked in an agency.
Yeah.
So just because I had success and sales roles with social didn't mean I knew how to run an agency. So I went and worked in an agency. At the time, I bought the URL, Lillian James Creative. I kept nurturing my personal LinkedIn, knowing I would know when the right time was. And eventually Nike came to me and they said, "We want you to work on this. We heard you want to start a business. How about you do this?" Long story short, it never turned into anything. It was like 6 months of red tape, right? Because they didn't end up even taking it digital. That's how big companies work. But it was the platform to make that jump.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Sometimes you got to make those little steps to get to where you need to have that big jump.
Right. So I quit my job. At that point, I was a single mom with 2 kids.
Yeah.
Quit my job, started my business, got another bartending job, right? Because I still knew I needed cash. And within 4 weeks, was able to quit that bartending job and do this full time.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's the American dream right there. Yeah.
Well,
It's just being able to, it's the thought of being able to, like, no matter what your situation is, to, like, whether you're black, whether you're a woman with, you're a single mother with kids,
right.
like, there's so many people who have different stories, like, like yours. They're similar and very different in their own way at the same time. But they rose to a certain level of success because they didn't allow their, challenges or their hurdles in life to just, like, keep them at bay. Like, they were able to overcome and achieve that. So that's the great thing about, the opportunities that we have here.
Right.
This country does have a lot to work on, socially and everything like that. But as far as, like, opportunities business-wise, like, it's a great place.
It's got a lot of work on it, and it's not perfect, but I saw yesterday there is a country in Asia, I'm trying to remember, I think it was the Philippines, and literally in the Philippines, if you were to go protest, you could be under, let me say this right, legally they could put you under a death warrant, right? Not it's accidental, not a rogue,
or you just happen to be caught in the crowd.
But, like, you could go to jail and get the death penalty for protesting. And so I think that puts some things in perspective. Like, at least we're still living in a country where if we have enough people rise up, we can make a difference. Right? And
that's why we need white people. we need the white people.
We need to all do it together. Is what needs to happen.
Yeah. But hey, your voice makes a difference as well, because we all know that. But yeah, it's just
to that point, and I know that's not what this podcast is about.
Yeah, it's not a social justice podcast, but this is a current issue, guys.
It's a current issue, and you should not ever ignore current issues. I have always been a white person that was very vocal. That's just who I am. If I know that something's right or wrong, I say it.
Yeah.
What is different this time, and I don't know if you feel it as a black man, but I feel it as a white woman, is that the many, many white people that have had conversations with me behind closed doors about knowing it was wrong, but were afraid to say it to their circles, are no longer afraid.
Yeah.
And I don't know why it took this time.
I don't know.
I don't know if it's because we all just had to go. Maybe that's why we had to go through that damn pandemic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it took us all, like, stopping for a minute, being around family, not being too busy not to notice. I don't know. I don't know if I know a lot of people went through reflection just in life in general, right? All of a sudden, all of our material things didn't matter as much because we were worried about people staying alive. And so I don't know if it took that. Like, in my gut, I think we're going to look back at the pandemic and realize that's what really helps us move this needle forward that we've been trying. She turned 65 this week. That is not that old, right?
No, it's not.
Like, that is not old. It's been a long time coming, and so for the first time ever, I'm seeing the white people start to cross that line of actually using their voices to help, and that makes me happy.
And it's made me so proud to see that, because I was at the Atlanta protest the other day, and just seeing this one white guy, we just instantly connected really well. He's from California. He had this sign that said, "Black culture raised me." And I was like, wow, that's like one of the best signs that I've seen all day long.
Yeah, I
and
haven't
I'm
seen
just
that
like,
one yet.
people, because there's a lot of appropriating going on and taking advantage of our culture, exploiting it. But it's just cool to see people, like, who appreciate it and are speaking out and are not just, like, saying, to their circles, hey, this is the wrong thing, but I don't know, people on social media might unfollow me. At the end of the day, we have to look back. This is going to be in history books, guys.
100%.
And you want
all
to
of
ask
2020.
yourself, well, like Kobe dying, you got the corona,
2020 has been a rough.
You got, the social justice, movements going on, and the whole world seeing and getting involved in it. And I feel like the pandemic helped to humble us and help us to realize, no matter what color you are, socioeconomic status you're on, we are all people.
Right.
You cut me open, you cut you open, it's gonna bleed red. Like, that's the bottom line. And so, like, people realize that they're really not much different from the other person. Like, and so that humbling experience helped us to realize our humanity that we share with each other. And so, I don't care who you are. Like this is. We know what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
And so I'm just so thankful for all the people, like, you and other people I've seen during the protests that have been speaking out, because it means a lot to us as black people, because we feel like, it's just like when you're speaking out and you've been told for so long that, oh, you're just trying to use the race car, or you're just being ignored, it hurts. That hurts a lot, because it's already hurting to have pain, but to be ignored is even more hurtful too.
Yeah, no, I can't even imagine, honestly, to tell you the truth, I can't.
Yeah, but anyways, guys.
What I do know is that I have gone through trauma as a child, not the same trauma, different trauma.
Yeah.
And what I realized during the pandemic, I have a couple good guy friends that have been through a lot of trauma growing up as well, both white, but lots of different types of trauma.
Yeah.
One grew up in Congo, and him and his dad were actually kidnapped in Congo, like major trauma, right?
Wow.
The other grew up in a very, very like poor, abusive household where the lights were never on. What I know is the three of us thrived during the pandemic. And we got together and we're like, what is going on that all of our other friends that are usually really great entrepreneurs are not thriving? And we realized that sometimes going through that trauma, you see later how it actually really helps you accomplish the things you wanted, right?
Yeah.
So, like, for us, being told to stay home was not the most traumatic thing that ever happened to us.
Yeah.
Okay, with my house, with my lights, and my
my AC,
and my cable, okay, I'll work
internet,
from here.
Social media, Instagram, yep.
And, like, to us, it was like, all right, cool. Just all we got to figure out is how we run our businesses from home.
Yeah.
Our other friends who had pretty cush lives, like, we all go through something. That was the worst thing ever. Now they can't travel. Now they can't. And they shut down.
Wow.
And so I am so thankful for my personal trauma, because I think that my business, what happened during the pandemic inside my business is why my business will probably be a $10 million business by the end of next year.
Good. And I don't doubt it. So
yeah.
It's
so just all of that to say that I think a lot of trauma, like if we can just knock off the BS and we can all start to live together peacefully, that's what they're scared of. Y'all are gonna thrive.
Yeah.
You know?
I think people are it's like you thriving doesn't take away from me succeeding either.
That's what I'm
just like the scarcity mindset is just killing us. We gotta have the abundance mindset. I'm part of this group called the Black Wall Street group, and we're creating a new podcast just to like really help a lot of black people, because a lot of them are just trying to learn and they're struggling financially. So we want to learn and use our tools and our resources to do that. But anyways, we talk about how a couple of guys in the group, like their accounts went up to like from like $1,000 to $18,000, and I'm just like me seeing him, I'm so happy for him. Like I don't even have to yo man, like I don't have to be jealous, because like I know that I'm gonna prosper, and then they'll congratulate me. Right. So it's like a full circle, because like we have those moments where we're like, I don't know why we had that scarcity mindset, but I'm happy for him. I'm happy for you and your business, and you're gonna have a $10 million business.
I don't know why anyone has scarcity mindset. Didn't you just see all that money they just made up during the pandemic?
Exactly.
They just made up money.
Just printing money all day long. We got money for days, y'all.
We can just keep making money. I don't know what the problem is.
And we got Bitcoin too. So, but yeah, it's just like we gotta have this abundance mindset, because that's where we're like, all right, cool. Well, you did something great, awesome. Like let's clap it up for you, Aaron. Right. And then next time it will be me. And then, I'll have my time to celebrate. We all have our different times. Everybody has a different time. Like you mentioned, maybe you didn't finish college, and people in your circle did, and that's okay, because they had their moment. But now you have your moment. Right. And so everybody has their moments at different times, and that's okay. And we're all different.
I agree.
But yeah. So I know we got off into a whole thing right there, but I felt good about that. But but anyways, like when it comes to here as the being the leader and the CEO of this company, what are some of your favorite things? What would you say would be like one of the favorite things you love about this company, and what do you feel like is one of the biggest challenges that you face?
So my biggest challenge has been leadership overall. So out of all transparency, your cousin works here. Yeah, right?
Yeah. Shout out to Ezzy.
Part of me acquiring his company to come over here is because he's very good at leadership. He's very good at the people part.
Yeah.
I was a single mom and so independent for so long. I worked so hard that it was very hard for me to understand why everybody didn't work like that for a very long time.
Yeah.
The other thing that I've realized is that it was very, if anybody did something that just did something that wasn't favorable towards me. Not even to me, just wasn't favorable for the company for me. I always felt like it was to me.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's just some of that past trauma, right? Like, I took everything so leadership was my biggest challenge, and it's something I continue every single day to work on. I would say we've come a long, long way. But it's probably the most important thing of having a business. So I should have worked on it 4 years ago when I started. But we've come a long way.
Hey,
my favorite part is that I've always had really crazy, creative, awesome ideas, or what I think are awesome ideas.
Yeah.
But I am not versed in like Adobe and videography and stuff like that, right? And now I've grown my team to where I have learned to communicate with them so well that I can come up with these big crazy ideas, and then they just make them happen.
Yeah.
And they make them happen 10 times the idea that I had, right? Because we've grown such a great culture where we all kind of see the vision.
Yeah.
And so that's my favorite part, is that we all really have vision of what this company looks like. It's not just my vision, it's everybody here's vision.
Yeah. And on top of the the leadership part that you talked about, how do you, I would say, what are some of the challenges that you face as a female leader? Because that's a whole different category too, because in this day and age where we have a lot more women leaders, CEOs and stuff like that, what are some things that you faced specifically as a female leader?
Well, that's probably the biggest part, is I refused at the beginning of this to think I had to be any different than a man to be a leader, right? So I still am convinced to this day that if I had been a man saying the same things in the same tones that I had said, employees wouldn't have been as hurt, right? Or wouldn't have thought I was a bad leader, past employees. The truth is that men and women are different. And our culture has, women are by trade more empathetic, and that has resulted in people wanting to see that more empathetic side. So when you're not a woman, when you're the minority of women that aren't as empathetic, it's hard to realize that's something you need to work on. And so for me, that was probably my biggest challenge, because it absolutely is tougher for me to lead women in particular, because every single woman that I've had a tough time leading had come from a male boss and talked about how mean he was. So I know damn well I was a lot nicer than their past male bosses, but I wasn't super nice, probably. And so it took me a really long time to figure out that just because that's not the way it should be doesn't mean that's not the way it is. And so I've really worked on, probably the biggest thing I've worked on when it comes to that is listening to understand what they are saying. I can't always change who I am at my root, but listening to what they're listening to understand, so that we can talk through any challenges that they may have with me. And also the other thing is, I just tell them up front, sometimes it's not going to feel like rainbows and unicorns.
Exactly.
That's not who I am at my core, but let's chat through it, right? Because if that's what you need, I'll get you with a leader like your cousin. He, for the most part, leads most of our team, so there's kind of a barrier in between, so they don't have to deal with that. Now he has to deal with it, and he's fine with it. We knew each other for a long time.
He's like your shield.
He already had to deal with it, so but it's something I'm definitely working on. I put somebody in that spot. I mean, I think that's the best thing, is you hire people things you're not good at.
And that's, delegation is such an amazing thing, like, because people have to realize, like, everybody has like something that, like, it's okay to be good at something, but why not get somebody else who's great at something, and like you can still thrive, like you can still. And I think sometimes people get so caught up, and I know I have made that mistake too.
I think people think that with like money and that kind of stuff, but sometimes it's hard to think about that as your own, maybe just your own personality.
It is, and I think sometimes we're like, especially like type A personalities, we're both like that. But like I've had to deal with that when I led organizations at my school and stuff like that back in university, and I had some friends that would take me to the side and, hey man, we got you, trust us. I'm like, okay, my bad. Like sometimes I get out of line. Y'all need to check me.
Right.
So hey, and that's what. like real leaders do, like, you know, in a good like executive circle, a good round table, so to speak, will check you. Like sometimes,
right.
even if it can hurt your ego, but I'm glad that my friends check me.
Right.
Who are my vice presidents and whoever like that, because it helped me to like come back to, you know, earth and just be like, wait a minute, okay, right. They are great at that. Right. I'm just okay at right. it, you know, I'm just good, you know, but they're great at it. So like, let me delegate that real quick. So it's okay. It's delegation's a beautiful thing.
Working on it.
And so, you know, there's many aspects and pieces to the business that you're in. You know, there's content creation, podcasts, web design, etc. What would you find is your personal favorite, like, you know, out of all those things?
Yeah, so we switched our business. It happened in March. It was supposed to already happen in March, but COVID just sped it up a little bit to where we're kind of like an Amazon of marketing, so people can just get in there and order what they want. Where I really excel is I run our Facebook group where we give people ideas of what they should be doing with their content, and then they order content from us, right? Like they just order the deliverables from us. But I really like that kind of stuff, like giving ideas, doing strategy with people on my live shows and stuff like that. So probably that. Yeah.
I remember like it was a live LinkedIn. I remember seeing something with a former basketball player. Is it Kareem something?
Kareem Rush.
Yes. Yeah. So you guys have some cool shows and pretty cool guests too. So I like that. And so, how do you navigate the art of flexibility? Just, you know, in this space that you're in.
Like flexibility with what?
Flexibility just as a leader, flexibility with dealing with situations like COVID. Like, how do you deal with how do you manage the art of flexibility?
Art. I didn't hear that word. Okay. I think that we're just very transparent. So when COVID happened, I was just like, I can't guarantee everybody their jobs, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to figure out everything to guarantee you your job. So I'm not going to tell you that 100% I can guarantee everybody's jobs. I didn't know that. I didn't know if every single one of our clients was going to quit. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do my best. So my best is call all the clients and find out how they're doing, right? One, just call them. Yeah. They're your client. Check in on them. It kind of sucks right now. Two, help me forecast. Then when we got the PPP loan, we did get the first round of the PPP loan. I didn't let my employees know we were applying for it because those are details they just didn't want. It was a nightmare. I guarantee they didn't want them. But when we got it, I said, listen, I still can't guarantee your job.
Yes.
But I can for 8 weeks. Right? So we haven't had any clients quit still to this day.
Nice.
And we got the PPP loan, so... But I was very transparent. Like, we got the PPP loan, so for 8 weeks, everybody's good. Yeah. Now, here's the deal. You're good as long as you do your job, right?
Amen.
So, I understand that right now it sucks. I understand that some of you guys are having kids stuff. I understand all this. So, what I need is I need you to talk to me if you're going to work at night. I need you to talk to me if you're a couple days behind on your due dates, right? So, as long as you're doing that and you're communicating with me, you're good on your job.
Yeah.
For the next 8 weeks. And I haven't had to lay anyone off or defer anybody.
Yeah.
We've really, we've actually hired 3 people.
Oh, wow.
So
you guys are doing
it's
good.
It's been going really well. But I think it was just, at the end of the day, it's just transparency. Yeah. Everyone else said, don't tell your employees you got the PPP loan. And I'm like, what? Listen, if I was an employee and I didn't know where my job stood right now.
Yeah.
And that's how my family ate. 8 weeks is going to give me a lot more reassurance.
Yeah.
So I didn't say you have your job till December. I said you have it for 8 weeks, right? Great. Hopefully we'll be out of COVID in 8 weeks. We were.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so, exactly. I definitely appreciate that because I work for, you know, United Airlines as a flight attendant, and the CEO and the president had the town hall meeting, and it was just, even though you don't like everything that's said, you at least appreciate the honesty and you respect that. Right. So that's great that you did that. So and as we wrap things up, you know, we talk about in this podcast like how life is like a house, and you know what and the question is like, what is your house built on? Like, you know, everything. There's so many things that make up a house, but the most important thing is the foundation.
Right.
And so, and we kind of just like say that that's your values. Like,
Right.
So what is something that your house is built on? Like, maybe what's one thing that?
Yeah. So I've got 2 kids, right?
Yeah.
I have parents that I don't talk to. I have parents that have stolen money from me multiple times over the years.
Wow.
Just not people that you probably want to come from. So I had my first kid kind of young. I had my second kid not as young, but younger than I am now. But my thing has always been like, I was fun and I was partying and I was doing all this stuff. And the day I got pregnant, I was like, done. Now this is my everything. And so it's really just making sure that my kids get to have a much different lifestyle and upbringing than me.
Yeah.
So one of the things we do is we travel all the time.
That's
right?
awesome. Any
One of
favorite
the-
places?
For my kids, we really like New York because they're big theater kids.
Yeah,
So we like
yeah.
Broadway, and I love a ocean anywhere. They don't. My daughter is still weird about sand. She's so high maintenance, but so I might be taking those trips on my own for a while.
Oh,
but like
man.
we travel all the time, and then my kids, I was always the kid that I would like to be like, I want to try that, and my parents would be like, no, right? Like anything that cost any amount of money, and
Yeah.
sometimes even things that didn't cost money, and so
My
kids
parents would be
have-
cheap like that too.
They were only cheap with me, not with my sister. It was a weird thing. So my kids have tried everything, and that's how we ended up in theater, is they wanted to try it, and we did it. So essentially, you know, that stuff is not cheap.
Oh no.
And so,
Oh, no.
like, theater, like, you know, my son goes to a theater camp every summer. One camp for 1 week is $450. That's not cheap, but I can afford it because I work my ass off for him,
Yeah.
right? So at the end of the day, it's always... Now, he's hitting teenagehood, and every time he has an attitude with me, I remind him how much it cost.
Yep. Who's your mama?
I'm probably...
Wait, who's paying for that camp? Oh, that wasn't you? Okay, all right.
They're well aware of costs, but they're usually pretty appreciative.
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
a weird teen year pandemic time right now.
It happens. Kids are kids.
Right.
I wasn't too far removed from that,
Right.
so I, you know.
So that's my foundation. Just at the end of the day, it's just them. So you know, I keep telling them I'm going to move if they go to college or they move to New York to be on Broadway, which is their current plan.
Yeah.
They're 13 and 8, so we'll see. But I told them that's going to
Very
get expensive,
ambitious.
so I got to keep going.
Hey, NYU is a great theater school, so yeah.
Oh God, I can't have a college and New York,
Yeah.
right? Jeez. So I just
Yeah,
always say,
yeah.
well, Mom's got to get a place there too, so we better start moving this up.
My thing is, because I'm based in New Jersey, so my thing is like, I always tell people the best strategy is like live in Jersey, pay
Yeah.
less taxes, and then take the train 30 minutes to Manhattan. That's
Or
all
the
you have
path,
to do.
right? Yeah, you just take the path.
Yeah,
over.
path is a lot cleaner than yeah. I love the path, and they get the TVs too. But anyways, so we're gonna the very last question. We're gonna transition to the our segment called Question of the Day. Random question that has nothing to do with what we talked about.
Okay.
And it is today's random question of the day is who's gonna be the biggest competition for the Chiefs this upcoming season?
I don't care.
What? We're in Kansas City and she doesn't care about the Chiefs.
You know who I really like besides the Chiefs? Like, I wish he was on our team.
Who's that?
Is JJ Watt.
JJ, oh yeah.
Like, I just
yeah,
don't care
remember.
about sports, but JJ Watt, I like him.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm mad at Drew Brees right now.
Yeah.
So.
I think they're gonna have a hard time in that locker room.
They're gonna have a really hard time for a while.
They're gonna have some real tough conversations.
So, not Drew Brees. I just like JJ Watt. I love the Subway commercial with his 3 brothers. Yeah.
Wow.
Have you seen that?
I didn't even know those were his brothers.
Yeah.
Wow.
They're
I
all
need to
in the
read.
NFL.
I need to look at that.
Clearly in better sports.
Yeah. I know he has a brother that plays for the Steelers.
No, he has 2 brothers in the NFL.
I didn't know he had 2 brothers
You're
in
welcome.
the NFL. What?
If you need any more sports knowledge.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
But anyways, thank you guys so much for listening. Thanks, Aaron, for joining us. Be sure to check out Lillian James, even if you're not in Kansas City.
Yeah, we do stuff nationally.
They can be found at Lillian James
LillianJamesCreative.com. Yeah.
Exactly. So thank you guys so much. If you're on Spotify, Google Play, and if you're on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave a review if you connected with anything on today's episode. Thank you again. And also, podcasts are free to listen to, but they are not free to host. So please, hit up that Patreon page. I'll leave the link below, and you can donate as little as $10, $5, or even $1 a month. Thank you guys so much. We love you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.